That's you. Oh, that's
Okay,
you.
okay, so, okay, I had the wrong microphone turned, so now people should be getting this over the owl mic and you should be able to hear better. Sorry for that
Sorry.
little glitch there, everybody that's watching online.
Okay.
No.
Believe me, by the time you're done, you will be like, she has talked enough. Because the one thing you'll also learn about writers is that we tend to be a little bit introverted. And so this is, even though I love to speak to people, especially one-on-one, being in front of an audience is just a little bit different for me.
Sorry. Okay.
All right. So this picture is paired with a poem that I actually wrote, not in Kansas, but on my way to Montana. And I remember at the time I hadn't been away in a long time. So my job, my day job is healthcare, corporate America. Very straight, stoic, clinical. I'm a clinical dietitian by training. And so the poet photo piece is way different than what I do on a day-to-day basis. So this trip to Montana was a godsend. And the name of the poem is called Calibration. If nowhere is a place, then I'm in the middle of it. On a 2-lane where pastel-kissed sky hugs the prairie. Antelope mamas and babes graze easy next to the cattle. With each rural route curve, I feel myself calibrate. My heart clicks to the tick, where I am most content. Chronically flighty feet finally anchor to the ground, and I breathe. Finding peace inside spiral, comfort within the spaces in between, my soul grateful exactly for where I am. And this, so when I write, I think I write for me. When I take pictures, I write for me, but also with the lens of maybe this will speak to somebody else too. Like it's always my hope. And I know I can't predict that because this land's different for everybody. But in this hustle bustle world, it feels like we always need to be someplace else other than where we're at. And when you are out in the middle, especially in the prairie, in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, that's where you can breathe, where you can finally think, this is exactly what I see. Since it is a photography work, a photography group, I will say, as you look through the photos, and Cody and I were talking about this beforehand, my photography is way different than when I first put this book together. Since then, I've learned more technical skills. I understand manual shooting better. You know, the buzzwords, aperture, shutter speed, all of the things that you guys probably already know. I knew none of that. The only thing I knew was composition and natural light. And I knew how I wanted the picture to look. So I see this book as the first step in, you know, not only like breaking into publication, but truly getting a feel for what's my voice, what's my poetic voice, and what's my photographic voice. And that's where, so Jonathan and Cody came in at the beginning of this, and we did a project for Kansas Magazine. We did a trails project for Kansas Magazine. So Lehigh Trails in Iowa, and then Cody and I went to Big Basin, like what county was it? Jacobs Well.
This is straight south of Dodge.
Yes, like an hour
West-
south.
West of Ashland, west of Ashland.
Mhm. Way out there. And it was an amazing project, but I learned very quickly I don't have the technical skills, for magazine, for books. And so that's where I was able to learn from people before me. And in Cody for this book, he helped me create high enough quality for my publisher. So has anybody in here like submitted to a magazine, publication, things like that? Yeah. So you know like how technical you need to be, the quality it has to be, the DPI, that was all new to me. And I think I'm going to write a book. What? So I could not have done this without good help. The next piece I want to get to, way near the back.
I'm just teasing.
I know. I'm taking them all the way to the back. Because there's an order to this. And obviously I didn't put the book in order. That would be too easy. Oh, actually, let's stay here. So this photo and the poem that accompanies it is a little bit long, but this is a photo that I took with an iPhone years ago, a long time ago. And iPhones, do a nice job, but as far as being able to be quality for a magazine or for a book, you can imagine the challenge that we had because the whole reason I wanted this was because of the squirrel. And when you hear the poem, you'll know why. This is the Fibonacci squirrel, the Fibonacci mathematics series. And so Mr. Tracy had to work some magic on this. And the interesting thing is that my publisher said, well, let's just not use the snail. But can we just find a different picture? Because that's the other fun thing of using a publisher is that they have different ideas than maybe, you hold on to your babies, but they call it, might have to kill your darlings. And this was one darling I was not going to kill. And so Cody chicken, he saved him for me.
I wouldn't get on that.
I know. So do you want to speak a little bit about?
Well, they sent it back. That photo still wasn't right. I said, that's not how. You Made it right.
You made it right. And you worked a long time on this. So I will read the poem that goes with it and you'll see why we had to have film. Actually, I'll just back up. There. So it's a little bit longer. The other thing that I've noticed, because I have 2 more books in the work, the other thing that I've noticed is that my poems have gotten much shorter. And part of the reason why I write poetry is because I get bored fast. I used to be a blogger, a journalist. I did I wrote all the time. Anybody who writes know that you write every day. But I found that I was running out of time and running out of patience. And poetry is short form. And it was a challenge to tell the entire story in a short form. And so I love the challenge of that piece. The other kind of silly thing I do is that I like to write about math. Every once in a while, my poems are about math, and this is one of them. I call it the hanging curveball of space. Lying on my back, making wishes on the moon, front row seats on this third rock planet, contemplating light year, quantum physics, laughing out loud because I know nothing. And that is the truth. I know nothing about quantum physics. I just think it sounds cool. Humankind is immersed in a giant snail shell. So thus, I had to have the snail. Fibonacci's sunflower squirrel. I think that's the other neat thing about Kansas. We've got sunflowers, and Fibonacci is all through the petal. You're wearing sunflowers. Yes, yes. Our atoms collide in bent, curved, undulating hologram images. Like a pretzeled yogi, the sun bends around itself as our existence tick-tocks around its rays. So tick-tock, again, I don't practice classic poetic form, but I love words that sound like they're written. So tick-tock, bam, and I keep a whole journal of my favorite words. We are a speck of matter in the creator's playpen, unique, beautiful, but insignificant under a cosmic canopy of sky. Oh, Einstein. And I have a crush on Einstein. I just do. He's a Pisces, like me. I mean, he's just awesome. And the other thing about Einstein is that he always practiced gratitude and openness, and he's just a neat man, not to mention really, really smart. Oh, Einstein, I want to shimmy with you under the stars, lasso their luminescent spurs, peek under Cassiopeia's skirt, dip the snipped hem of my lacy dress into the stardust bunnies of the Milky Way. The galaxy is my soul sister, my perpetual partner in planetary dance. So I have to stop here because alliteration, when you use the first letter at the beginning of each word, you're really not supposed to use alliteration, and I absolutely adore using it. Together our insides explode, collapse, and ripple, sway like the waves of the surface of the sea. The movement is sublime, dip, dive, and swerve to fight gravity and relatively stop time. So that was just my little fun one for Phil. And Cody saved the day for me on that. Let me pause there, see what questions you might have.
What kind of work did you do to make the snail right?
You want to come up?
The snail photo here.
It was, well, the photo, the resolution, the DPI, the book is at 8 by 8 inch. The DPI was not even substantial for a much drawing. Yeah, it would have done maybe a 1.5 by like 2 inch at 300. And that just, yeah, so it was just.
And there was a weird green haze right here that looked out of place. And so.
So,
worked
yeah,
on
there
that
was
with
some Photoshop, yeah. In fact, their photography department they didn't really do much with the book.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't really do anything. In fact, it was, when they sent that back as a proof, I sent the files so big that, what do you, I said something about it.
Yeah, that you were gonna crack. So Cody helped me blow these files up so that they could be compressed.
But yeah,
And the publisher's like, I'm pretty sure that he blew our servers. Just with the photos. But that was also, it actually saved. So I did hybrid publishing, which I had a publisher, but also we did a lot of the work ourselves, and that saved us publication costs. It saved us workshop costs, and I learned a lot about Photoshop, about improving the DPI, and it was just so valuable for me because at the heart of it, I was telling you, I was a film photographer. That's where I started, was film photography. And when you have a film camera, you know that you really have one chance. And so composition of light has to be right. Like that's the only thing I knew was composition and leading lines. And this project helped me better understand Photoshop. Yes.
Did you take photography classes at school, high school, college?
No, I went to a really small private school, and we didn't have electives except for Latin. So that was my elective. And I was the yearbook editor and in charge of photography. We had a dark room. We laid the photos on, we pasted them on layouts. And that was my experience with photography, was in the dark room in high school. Yeah. And that's a good question. Any other questions?
In publishing a book like you have here, how many do you have to have in print just to, work with the publisher?
It really just depends on your publisher. So mine was great to work with, and we determined that we would do 125 first edition runs. And what I have left is on the table over there. So I feel like it's been a really nice and good experience. He does print on demand through Amazon and through his publishing company. The problem is, and for anybody who takes pictures, you're going to understand this. The quality, for example, with Amazon on demand is not the same as the quality here. They use different paper. It's lower quality paper. The print is lesser quality. And that's something that we learned a lot about too, was the quality piece and having control over that. Because so you think about traditionally published authors and photographers, they basically hand them their stuff and then the publisher takes care of everything. And you get maybe $1 a book. In this case, we had full creative license. We chose the cover. We shot this cover twice.
And all
Three
doing
times.
on the photo.
Yes.
So that was great.
Us doing all the photo work, like it was a double blessing because we had creative control. I had my creative perfectionist, and it didn't cost me a lot of money in lab fees, because a lot of these photos, I'll just show you some examples. iPhone photo. That's a real one. iPhone photo. iPhones are great, but I have 2 Olympus cameras now because of this. And I rarely go back to my iPhone, although Jonathan is the iPhone master. Like, you take a lot of.
I'm lazy. What can I say?
No, it's convenient.
No, I get it. It's convenient.
It's
You're
convenient.
right.
It's convenient. I will say though, I just landed a cover of a horse on the cover of a magazine, and it was an iPhone photo. But I learned how to make sure that it's high enough DPI, that the quality is good, and that's thanks to the project that we did.
Michelle,
Mhm.
you remember Jim Richardson?
Uh-huh.
Well, did the iPhone
Yes.
photography class.
Yes.
And he told us that he had a photo in National Geographic that was an iPhone photo.
He has several.
Yeah.
And the reason he used iPhone is because with animals, they are less, they're less distracted and scared than they are with a camera. So I am going to the middle spread. This is the spread that inspired the whole book. And I did not take this picture. Yeah, yeah. In the book, so it's the center of the book. It takes up 2 spreads. It takes up 2 pages. And he has the full picture. He's gone back to get it. We went in November. It was so windy, like just terribly windy. I couldn't keep the hair out of my face. I'd never been there before. And I just wanted to experience it all. And so I actually wrote this poem in my head on the way home. And it's called Windswept, of all things. Crazy how the wind didn't bother me. It kissed me and I kissed it right back. Standing atop the world, Cooper's hawk envious of our view. I ditched the heavy coat and gloves so I could full body experience windswept passion. The prairie's arms around mine. The tightest, most timeless hug I'd ever had. The feeling of being completely alive, even in my human terminal mortality. Soaked me in, feeling it in my bones, breathing it into my heart, driving home and wishing I could do it all over again. You know, very simple. The best poems to me, I know they're my best ones when it takes me 5 minutes to write. And I do very little editing. And this was a case of that. But I used a lot of, so this is the part where I like to say I write poems that don't hurt somebody's head. I basically wrote what happened, with some metaphors, obviously, because, the prairie doesn't wrap up and hug you. But when you're standing out there like that, it sure feels like it, And Cody and I did not know each other very well at all. He was taking pictures from his truck. And he happened to capture a moment that actually did not last very long.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I wanted to show, is it the first one? If you'd like, you can pass it around if you want to.
That's another thing. Talking about the different papers, each felt that there are about 30 different.
I think we printed that one on the
Are
tally.
these the photos you put in the book that are here?
Some of them. A lot of the photos in this book are from behind the scenes and some of the things that we did that day.
That's
And pictures that didn't make, that's that one. And pictures that didn't make the book, but it still kind of tells a story. Let me pause
So
there.
that's you on the prairie?
It is.
You look like the young kids. Out there.
I felt like.
Oh, I thought that was a little girl or something.
No, it is so funny. That's so
Yes.
funny. Because that's what he said. Yes.
Was that a couple of years ago?
Was it Photoshop
It
or
was-
anything?
It was November, was it November of 2021?
All right, I'll pass it on.
2020?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we were in the midst of COVID, right? It'd been a long year for everybody. I hadn't been out much. Yeah,
Oh, it had.
it had, right?
Were you wearing the mask?
Not out there,
Not out
was
there.
it? No. And hopefully this won't be too personal for Cody, but November was a bad month for you. You hadn't been out of your house except twice.
No, that was.
This is the first day you've gotten out of your house the whole month of November, right?
Plus a little,
And plus October.
a little left.
So COVID shut a lot of people down. And it's so funny that you would say that looks like a little kid, because that's the way you described it. I felt like a little kid. Like I got away from my job that was just, I was doing marketing and research in Alzheimer's disease. And it was really high pressure and high strung. And I had so much freedom that day. I absolutely enjoyed it. And they were able to capture it on camera and inspire the whole book. So. Are you getting bored? Anybody getting bored yet?
Oh,
So can you teach my mom to love the wind?
That's so funny, because a lot of people don't love the wind. No. And there's some pictures, after we're all done, we can pass those around. There's pictures, all the pictures of me has the wind in my face. Like it was in my face, it was in my mouth all day, and I didn't even care. And I
You
usually
gave up
care.
on your hair a long
I gave
time
up on
ago.
it, yes, I did, definitely. Definitely. I'm going to go to another one from that day. If I can find it. This way you're getting like preview, right? Oh, here it is. Okay. So has anybody been up to Teeter Rock? A lot of people have. When you were up there, were the Lovelocks up there? Yeah. Yeah, it depends on when you go. The first time we went up there, all of these were there. And the second time, I think there was 2 or 3. The last 2 times, there have been
Must
0.
not have worked out.
It must not have worked out. Right? I didn't know what a lovelock was until I saw those there. And again, this is one of those, I wrote so many poems that day. It was just crazy. And so this is the poem that goes with this. Unsupervised. And actually unsupervised is the working title of my next book. Freedom, it's relative, depending if it's an eagle's eye view or eagle's lyrics. Don and Glenn, in a year where freedom was my goal, and remember this is 2020. In a year where freedom was my goal, I am cagey. 4.5 hours of unsupervised time was more than the total moments combined in the 333 days prior. It's not lost on me. I'm not alone. I am happy to figure it out. Hold your hand while we do. I've created my own prison, like the chains to my desk and straps around my ankles. I am the one holding the keys. So this is one of those poems where so rap artists call it sampling. I did some sampling on this one. Don and Glenn from the Eagles, everybody, but like you and Mindy, you're young too, so.
I know who they are.
Okay.
She didn't look at me.
So actually it was with the Eagles lyrics. It was the Eagles lyrics that started this poem. But first it was the love locks on the fence and just the metaphor of the locks on the fence. And it's love that put them there, but yet it's locked. Like that just always kind of cracks me up when you think about being locked into love. So I started here with the Eagles lyrics and sampled there, and then all the way down to the bottom, chains and straps around my ankles. So that's a line from one of their songs. And when I saw you on my Instagram platform, if I do any sampling, I absolutely give credit where credit is due. But it's kind of fun to play around with the lyrics and move them back and forth and just try to find your own voice in this.
It's funny because I was going to ask you what music do you listen to, because I think that, well, like Bono said, every artist is a poet. No, every poet is the artist, every artist is a thief or something like that. All poets,
Yes.
and then sing about their grief, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there are there's inspiration you get, from music, or perhaps maybe we're listening to. What is some of your other art inspiration besides the Eagles?
Yes.
And besides photographers?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that, because it actually brings something that I wanted to talk about too. And we have talked about this a lot, especially when you write. I don't notice it as much in photography because I feel like I'm still very new in photography, even though I've done it since I was 9. But with writing, you have both the danger and the blessing of sounding like the people that you write or that you read, right? And so I read a lot of, so from a poet perspective, I read a lot of Mary Oliver, Victoria Erickson, Dorian Lau, trying to think of some others. Jesse Jans, Kim Don Zanio, I can never say it right. But I also like Sylvia Plath and And there's a danger of sounding like those people. And what I have noticed is that I don't sound like any other poets because, for one, I don't know the form. I just write what's in my head. So that piece is gone. But I still definitely get inspiration. So you can tell when I'm having writer's block. It's when I start to use song lyrics. It's when I start to write about math. It's when I start to rhyme. Like everybody gives me crap. They can tell that I'm having problems coming up with my own words when I start to rhyme. And so when you see a bunch of rhyming in a row, it's usually because it's just when the brain goes.
It's kind of like jazz poem jazz. You know, because jazz is just really big poem.
Right.
So
But I love to listen to the Eagles. I like Tupac. So Tupac was he was an amazing poet. Not a lot of people know that. They see him, just like a really tough, dead rapper. But if you look at his lyrics, he was a beautiful poet. I'm trying to think who else I listen to. A lot of country music. I do because they're storytellers, and at the heart of it, I want to be able to tell stories. Now, Cody and I have talked a lot about the loss of innocence in photography. And if you do it for long enough, you might run into a rut. You might start to feel like you're copying other people, or everything starts to look alike. Or when you go to, so Jonathan and I were at Maxwell Reservoir, or Preserve. Was there like maybe 50 of us out there? And so 50 photographers with the tripods all lined up in a row, taking a picture of the same thing. And to me, like the goal for me is to capture it a different way. And that's everybody's goal, I think. You want to tell your own story, right? But copying, I think, naturally happens.
I didn't get it going that day, and I had the camera.
That's right. You
I
had
was
to.
gonna bring the etch a sketch.
I wish you would have brought that today. You get
Because
planned.
everybody gets to see.
There were some nice cameras there that day.
Yes, yeah.
I had that.
did you have your iPhone on?
I did.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you borrow a few lines, you have to give credit, or is there a chance you could get in trouble in any way?
So that's a great question. If the poet is deceased, if the writer is deceased, you can quote them. And I asked my publisher about this. He said, you didn't plagiarize anything exactly. He said, so I was safe. But I used most of my sampled stuff just on my Instagram platform because it's easier to give credit on that platform. It gets really messy in a book. And I've noticed, so the pieces that I'm getting ready to publish, there's very little sampling in that because I would just as soon avoid, it's very important for me that artists get the credit for it. And it's harder to do that in a book.
Sometimes poetry books where the poet's done a lot of referencing other poems or quoting from other poems, you'll go to the back and there'll be 4 or 5 pages of bibliography, basically, of everything that they used. So it can get pretty complicated.
It can. I will read one more. Oh, yeah, I'll read one more. And I love this one. Here is the picture that goes with it. This is a poem that I don't even remember writing. And those are my favorite. You just jot them down and you look at them later. Although I can't read my writing. I have to type my stuff. And it's a very simple picture. If you were coming here tonight to get really great photographic education and technical skills and understanding, I'm sorry. That's not really me. I am definitely that storyteller piece. But I love this because there's a lot to it. And it's up to the viewer to decide what it is they're looking at and what it is that they want to see. And I called it The View. I see you perched on the dock, rainbow over your shoulder, knowing more than what most people ever will. It's the view, but you never know what you don't know until you do. All you want is one last look, one more time, another moment to see the view. And this is the poem that I chose to end the book, because we all tend to move through too quickly and we forget to look at the view. And all of a sudden the view is gone, or your life changes and the view is different. This is just my reminder more than anything, like, to celebrate the book. This is a lifelong dream that I've had ever since I was 9. And is my reminder not to take it for granted, to be forever grateful to the people who've got me here. I see some of you here already, and I come back and I read that poem every once in a while.
From where do you sell your books?
So right now, they're on Amazon, but they're also through my publisher. But I love, so this is another piece, it's very purposeful. I had them send me all of the original copies because I wanted to personalize, sign them, send them. I did some fun things with the wrapping. If I knew the person, oftentimes I would, I made a little postcard or a little print of a picture that I knew that they liked. Sometimes I might put a little amulet on top. So that was really, like, that was so rewarding, because authors don't often, like, do you think J.K. Rowling like gets to, thank all of her readers? No. And for this first book, I wanted to be able to be able to do that. And this has given me that opportunity.
Personalized.
Yes, and that was so fun. Like,
Exactly.
obviously, I didn't do it to make money. My first reading, I just, I wasn't there to make money, and I was just so humbled by how many people. were
I have one
interested.
question. What's wrong with a poem that rhymes?
Nothing. I have plenty. I know. Let me see if I can find one. I know I have some, because I actually do enjoy rhyming. I just know that for me, like, I know that my brain's not working.
I got you.
I was going to see if I had any here. So I do like to rhyme, though, just not in the normal way. So I love to rhyme, like in the middle of a sentence, and I usually almost always, not in this case, but almost always rhyme the last 2 or 3 lines, because to me that's the way I can finish it. Sure. I'm glad you asked that. Okay.
I've got questions on the phone that same thing. Go back to the photo. All right, the horizon's tilted. So let's talk about that.
Crap.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Are you kidding me?
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm
So
glad you
exciting.
brought that up. All right, I'm
I'm
sure
sure
you're
there's a
not the
story.
only one that noticed that. So I have problems with shooting straight.
Oh,
I do. I will fully admit it. And it's because, and I know why, there is a method to my madness. I want the lines to come to the corner.
Yeah.
And I know in this case,
Oh.
so as I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, that's a terrible picture. So that's what I've been able to learn through this book, is like, I can see the pictures that I would totally do different. If I had to do this again, that corner would match. The horizon looks straight. Is that not straight?
what about?
If you're laying on your, if you're kind of laying on your side just a little bit.
Yeah.
And pull it just a bit. I think I would do this.
Yeah.
Well,
I take a lot of.
I think-
okay.
I think the main thing about water in a photo, it pretty much always needs to be level.
Yeah. And I've learned, I have a tripod now.
Well, and
I
there
promise.
was one of Teeter, the one that we used for the cover photo for this event was Teeter Rock, and the skyline was, the horizon line was tilted, but I kind of like thought it might be intentional because it makes it look kind of like you're spinning through the cosmos or something like that.
A lot of it is intentional,
Well,
and
that's what I thought that you do
But
on purpose.
I do, but I am not a controversial person. I think the people who know me know that. I catch a lot of crap for how crooked my stuff is. I really do.
Well,
And see, this is Cody's photo. It's
That's
like
straight.
Yes, and he's just shooting out his window, and his lens is like this long.
Which lake was that?
Maddening. The lake, that was Lake Shawnee.
But behind Teeter Rock, it is hilly,
It
it's
is.
not
That's
a
that.
straight
Yeah.
horizon.
Exactly. You're
I was
right.
looking for a
That one
different
was
one.
level, or is level.
I thought I was looking for my,
There 2 days ago.
I was looking for the, there's a picture in here of a red maple tree.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about.
That's terrible.
That makes sense.
But the rock is straight, not what you're looking at. You're not
Yeah, the
looking at
rock.
horizon first.
But if I were to do this again, so this is one of my very first pictures, like I had a new camera, I had a new lens. I had all these weird settings I didn't know how to use. And I was so focused on that, I forgot to make it straight.
I mean, but when you're looking at the rock is standing up straight. A lot of people don't, the rock actually leaves.
Yeah.
So in this case,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It works. It's
I
okay.
just, so that's the funny thing.
And you can fix this in editing too, if you wanted to.
Exactly, and I
But then
learned
you
how to do
lose-
that.
You
I
lose
learned
your
how to do
clouds,
that.
Right?
Huh?
You lose something that you don't want to lose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you try to straighten it, right?
Right.
you lose a lot.
But that rock doesn't stand straight out there.
Mhm. And I have been out there a lot.
Were you up a little bit higher when you shot this? or just
So this
standing?
is the first one.
The wide angle. that's-
Was this my wide angle? I don't
Well,
think I had my wide angle yet.
I think you did. You're shooting JPEG.
Just standing and shooting.
Is that-
Oh, I have a fun fact. So Jonathan and Dawn went and retrieved a lens for me right there. So I was up there not long ago. And I left my lens. I had left it there and I knew but I didn't realize it until a couple of days after. And so I think those guys were in the vicinity and Jonathan retrieved it for me.
With rain.
It got rained on. Yes, I was
But
so
it's an
stressed.
Olympus Pro.
So you found it?
Yeah.
But
I was so upset. It's my most favorite, most expensive lens.
Still works?
Still works.
Good.
Yep. So there is a really crooked photo. This one. I think that one's
That's a nice one.
straight. Yeah, it's straight, but it's blurry on purpose. So I like kind of an abstract depth of field. I like that blurry look. And I learned a lot about aperture in the last year. And I absolutely love to play with the aperture to get the feel that I want. So I am not a conventional photographer. I'm not technically sound, but you will find different things from me.
That Teeter Rock, it was in the Wichita Eagle, but someone spray painted it blue.
Oh,
And then when we were up there, family came, had read it in the, I don't know, Arc City paper or something to see how it was going. And someone came along and scraped that blue off.
How long ago was that?
Well, I don't know,
Was it saying?
2-3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying, I know of that as well. It was a big deal.
Okay.
Also down in Cali Falls.
What?
Oh,
Also
yeah.
down in Cali Falls.
I know.
that's pretty.
This one
Yeah.
is, so I printed this one too. It's in one of the books.
Uh-huh.
I love this one because of all the colors and not a lot of editing. I don't, like editing is not I think you've probably figured out, editing is not my strength. I like to take a picture and present it in the way that I remember seeing it, and that doesn't always happen. But this one was unique in that I was standing down here looking up. I mean, you can tell that. But yet it looks like the tree is sideways. But for me, and the poem itself, like it worked. And again, it's talking about how time comes at you so fast. And slow down and enjoy. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about autumn. And you'll see in this book, a lot of the book was written in autumn, because that is when our bodies naturally start to slow down, start to soak up and get ready for winter. That little fun fact. All right, I will totally quit talking now and let you guys.
I just finished my story about that blue paint on Teeter Rock. Someone did come in and scrape off that paint, but I don't know how it looks right today, but I've been there since, but you could see where they scraped it, you know, and you
Which
take
side-
that
which side
limestone,
was it
then
on?
it gets a
Oh,
lot
they got
lighter.
some rock off.
I was there 2 days ago and it looks beautiful.
You were there 2 days ago.
Yes, there's no trash. It
Oh,
looks
that's good to
beautiful.
hear.
It's maintained well.
Is it hard to get in there?
Not right now, no. You need decent tires. I have 10 plows on my truck But on my van, I've had some flats out.
Hmm.
I've had some flats. out in those
Last
roads.
time I was there, you couldn't get over the gate. There was too big of a gap. You weren't gonna cross the gate.
Yeah, I mean, and I've lost some elsewhere out there. I have 4 out there. actually.
You need to go back and pick it up.
Yeah. So I gotta try.
Should go pick things up.
Oh, there you go.
I'll go pick up.
So you doing Dukes of Hazzard out there?
I have, especially when the cows are there and they won't move.
This is out, it's
We all
out.
know who let it.
I haven't done that.
Yeah, right.
What?
We all know who Larry Hannaford is.
Uh-huh.
Okay. He did a speech, he's in the street photography now.
Mhm.
And one thing he said, the most important thing, if you like it, that's the only important thing.
Thank you for saying that, because you have heard me tell you that. You know, some people will ask like, well, what should I post or what should I take pictures of? What will people like? I said, it doesn't matter. Like if it means something to you and it tells a story to you, like I'm so grateful you said that, because if you remember anything today, like that is what I am most passionate about. And my photos, they're just a diary. They're just another way of keeping track of time.
Well, it's like one time I was in a camera club meeting in Wichita. Somebody, they were judging photos we put up. Somebody said, oh, that's overcompensated, too much. I looked at it and I said, that stood right there. It's on the coast of California. It looks just like that.
Yeah,
Right.
so we run into that with storm photos. You know how crazy the clouds can look and the colors, and you don't have to do much editing because the colors are already crazy,
You do a lot of storm photography?
not as much as he does. I just got into it this year and it's amazing. Like all the science and everything behind it is just so fun.
I get tickled at the news people in the studios that chase their trees around, One guy was in eastern Kansas and there's a tornado and he was on the radar, he was right in the middle of it. How do you see anything? You idiot. People die chasing
Yeah.
tornadoes.
It gives you a very healthy respect. And that's the piece of understanding the science.
So I'm a pilot. Most people don't realize the tornadoes actually form horizontal. And then they'll
Drop down. Yep.
So they're horizontal in the sky, you may not see them, then they'll tail down. So you never know what's going to come in.
I think I've been watching storm clouds since I was a little girl. I just want to say thank you so much, Sam. Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
for
you.
having me here and for you guys for showing up on what night is it? Are we a
Tuesday.
Tuesday night? For coming out on a Tuesday night to listen to me talk about things I don't always know a lot about. I just appreciate you being here. I will. So before you go, I'm gonna go back here to the table. I have different photos printed on different pieces of paper. You can take them out and you can look at them. It's just kind of fun to see how the pictures look different on metallic versus matte versus glossy. And then there's more stories behind the book and the different portfolios too. So you're welcome to come through and look for those as well.
All right, thank you so
All right,
much.
thank
And thank
you.
you everybody who was with us online. I will go ahead and sign off the live stream. Bye, guys.